Humanity's mission. The great mission of creating a paradise here on earth was assigned to humanity by God alone. God works through us, using each human being as an instrument in the divine plan of salvation for humanity. Each of us is born with a physical body and a soul bestowed by God, a part of God's own being. A person is born on the physical plane because he or she has a definite, individual mission assigned by God for the fulfillment of God's plan. What is God's plan? From the beginning of creation, God has planned the establishment of a paradise on earth. Words cannot express the grandeur and beauty of God's plan. God has endowed each human being with special talents and capabilities so that his or her individual mission can be performed successfully. God has caused each one to be born and reborn countless times, to live again and again in the physical world, in order to move forward toward the ultimate goal of perfection. All things and all events are part of the movement toward this goal. The present day is what I call the turning point from the age of darkness to the daylight age. The entire world is on the verge of taking decisive steps into the new era. Humanity must now throw off the cloak of barbarism so it may reach the heights of a truly enlightened civilization. For the first time on Earth, chaos, conflict, disease, and poverty will be eliminated. God has sent us Jorei for the purpose of furthering God's great plan in this direction. Jorei will play a crucial role in achieving God's plan.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this morning service of the Miroku Association headquarters. What is God's plan? God's plan is, since the beginning of time, is the creation of a paradise on this earth. And for the purpose, God sent many masters, sent Meishu-sama, this ultimate mission of fulfilling this plan. Meishu-sama then created prototypes of a paradise. We have the sacred grounds. We have the sacred grounds in Japan, Hakone, Atami, Kyoto. We have the sacred grounds of Guarapiranga in Brazil, of Saraburi in Thailand. In a very near future, the sacred grounds of Kakwaku in Angola, Africa. So gradually, we are expanding these prototypes here in the United States, and also in Canada. We are going to have sacred grounds in the near future. So, but we established this goal of first, I create a paradise in my own heart, a paradise in my own home, and then in my community, in our Jorei centers. So that's how gradually paradise is manifested. We regularly schedule pilgrimages to the sacred ground, so each member can experience, can feel the joy, the vibration that these places have to offer. Of course, because of COVID-19 restrictions, we haven't planned any pilgrimages recently. However, we want to prepare ourselves spiritually for when that time will be allowed, first by God, Meishu-sama, by the authorities. Then we are going to have these opportunities. I mentioned in one of our daily services the struggle my older sister had when she went on her first pilgrimage, because her husband was very unhappy with her decision. And she wanted really to go. My sister is a flower arranging instructor, Ikebana Sangetsu. So she wanted to go on a pilgrimage. That was a special pilgrimage of, there were many Sangetsu instructors at that time. So she was challenged by my brother-in-law, look, if you go on this trip, make sure that you be sure when you come back, there will be divorce papers waiting for you, because I don't want you to go. So she had this dilemma. What should I do? I don't want to create disharmony in the family. But she then made her decision. This trip is so important for my spiritual growth. I think my ancestors will be extremely happy. So she decided to go and had a wonderful time over there, prayed. When she returned from her pilgrimage, there were no papers waiting for her. For 1 week, my brother-in-law had a little sour face and whatnot, but they are still married, and that was 10 years ago. There's another experience I would like to share. This is from Denise Hand. This experience, in fact, is available on YouTube. Not on our Miroku TV, but if you would search on YouTube, Denise, D-E-N-I-S-E, Hand, H-A-N-D, and Johrei, J-O-H-R-E-I, we are going to find this experience, which I was interviewing her during a monthly service here in New York, and I will give you some highlights of that experience. But if you want to watch that whole video in its entirety, so go to YouTube, Denise Hand Johrei. I have been a member since December 2009. The first blessing I'd like to share regards to a serious eye purification. I was going through glaucoma. I was visiting the eye doctor almost every month. The pressure on my eyes were very high, 27, 8, and I had to rely on eye drops, as recommended by my doctor. If the pressure would go as high as 30, I could lose my vision. In one of these visits, my pressure then was below 20. When I was asked from the eye doctor what I have done, I knew right away that what was the answer, Johrei. The doctor was amazed and said she was going to refer some of her patients for me to give Johrei, because that was a so unusual result. In 2012, I had a very great permission to participate in the pilgrimage to the sacred grounds in Japan. It was not without a challenge for me, though. I was going through a divorce, and when I told my lawyer about my trip to Japan, and I had already bought my air ticket, he said that 2 court cases were scheduled around that time, on the beginning of July and on the 8th of that month. And if I would miss that, I would lose all my claims, according to him. But I was resolute. I'm going on this pilgrimage because my spiritual growth and mission is more important than any money I can get from the settlement of divorce. It was a permission I received from God and my ancestors, and I wouldn't miss that opportunity for anything else. The highlight of the pilgrimage was to attend the annual ancestors service. So in preparation, before I left, I took the names of ancestors, my ancestors, the ancestors of my friends in the Johrei Center, and also my Facebook friends, so I could place their names on the altar and represent them. It was more than 200 names. In Japan, I made my monetary offering and submitted the names to be placed on the altar. On July 1st, the annual ancestor service, the service was so powerful and beautiful, and I could strongly feel how happy the ancestors were. I cried, believing it was the tears of joy from the ancestors. Also, while doing dedication at the gardens in the Kyoto sacred grounds, I would elevate my thoughts to all the ancestors I was representing. And these ancestors, some of my friends' names would come to my mind. And I could sincerely feel their happiness that I was there at the sacred grounds. Now, since I was a teenager, I was affected by cysts on both of my breasts. For many years I had mammograms and ultrasound checking. These exams then began happening every 6 months. I was recommended to avoid stress and also foods with caffeine. I used to feel a lot of pain, especially during my period. And in 2010, the doctor didn't give me good news. The exam showed that new cysts had appeared. However, upon my return from the pilgrimage, I noticed I had no more pain. I went for further mammogram ultrasound. The results were the cysts were all gone, except for a tiny one the size of a small bean. Before I used to have a few cysts the size of 3/4 of an inch, almost 20 centimeters. I almost couldn't believe it. Since I had them for more than 3 years, I had to ask the person that was checking, in the mammogram, is this really, because since my teen years, she was astonished by that. Of course, she understood that her decision, her commitment on going on this pilgrimage, of the challenges that she had to face, and the dedication she was giving, receiving Jorei, trying to guide her friends, and that was the result. So upon her return, and with this blessing, she continued her commitment to introduce Jorei to others, to give and receive Jorei on a regular basis. And also, one thing that she was doing, she was sharing flowers of light, the mini Bana, around her community in Westchester County in New York, especially at the gym, that she was a member of that gym, so people would see the mini flowers everywhere. So this is the experience I want to share today. Wish you a very happy day and weekend. Thank you very much.